Emergencies rarely give us time to prepare. Fires, earthquakes, floods, power outages, or sudden evacuations can happen without warning. In situations like these, every minute matters. That's why many people prepare something called an emergency go bag. It's a backpack with essential items that help you survive the first 24 to 72 hours. In this video, we'll go through the most important things you should keep in your emergency bag. During emergencies, people often panic. When stress is high, it becomes difficult to remember important things. A prepared bag solves that problem. Instead of searching for documents, medicine, or water, you simply grab your bag and leave. Emergency experts recommend preparing supplies for at least 1 to 3 days. Start with your important documents. Include copies of your passport, ID card, and driver's license. Store them in a waterproof bag to protect them from rain or damage. It's also helpful to keep digital copies on a USB flash drive. Finally, add some cash. During emergencies, electronic payments may stop working. Water is the most important survival item. Even short emergencies can become dangerous without clean drinking water. Pack at least 1 bottle of water. For food, choose simple items like energy bars or ready-to-eat snacks. These foods are lightweight and require no cooking. A small medical kit can save lives. Include bandages, adhesive bandages, antiseptic wipes, and any personal medications you need. Many people also carry medical gloves and a tourniquet. Even basic supplies can help treat injuries until professional help arrives. Weather conditions can change quickly. Pack a warm sweater and an extra pair of socks. A lightweight rain poncho helps protect you from rain and wind. A thermal emergency blanket is extremely compact, but helps retain body heat in cold conditions. A few simple tools can solve many problems during an emergency. A small knife or multi-tool is very versatile. Waterproof matches can help start a fire. A whistle can signal for help if you're lost. Duct tape and rope are useful for repairs or building temporary shelter. Small hygiene items can make stressful situations much more manageable. Pack a toothbrush, protective masks, and other personal hygiene products. These items help you stay healthy and comfortable during difficult conditions. Technology can fail during disasters. Phones lose signal, and power may be unavailable. A paper map helps you navigate without GPS. A small portable radio can provide emergency news and instructions from authorities. Keep your emergency bag somewhere easy to reach. Check it every few months and replace expired items like food or medicine. Preparation doesn't take much time, but it can make a huge difference during a real emergency. A simple backpack today could protect you and your family tomorrow.
The city was waking up slowly. Cars moved through the streets, people walked to work, and cafes were just opening their doors. Then suddenly every phone began to vibrate at the same time. An emergency alert. A message appeared on the screen. A state of emergency had been declared. Residents were advised to stay calm, prepare essential supplies, and move to the nearest shelter. For a moment, the city seemed to pause. But I had thought about this kind of situation before. That's why I walked straight to the closet and pulled out my backpack, my go bag. I placed it on the table and began checking everything carefully. First, the documents. My passport, my ID, and my driver's license were in a small pouch. Right next to them were copies of those documents sealed in a waterproof bag. If anything happened to the originals, the copies could still help. There was also a small flash drive with important files backed up on it. And in another pocket, a small amount of cash. In an emergency, you can't always rely on digital payments. Next, I checked the basics, water and food. A few bottles of water and simple non-perishable food. Nothing fancy, but enough to keep energy up. Then I opened the medical kit. Inside were a bandage, adhesive bandages, and antiseptic. My personal medications were there as well. I also packed a tourniquet and a pair of medical gloves. Even small injuries can become serious if they aren't treated quickly. After that, I moved to clothing. A warm sweater went into the bag along with a pair of clean socks. Weather can change quickly, so I also packed a lightweight rain poncho. On top of everything, I folded a thermal space blanket. Small, but extremely useful for keeping body heat. Then came the tools: a small knife, a box of matches, and a whistle. The whistle might seem simple, but in an emergency it can help signal for help without exhausting your voice. I added a roll of duct tape and a small coil of rope. Both can be used for dozens of unexpected situations. For hygiene, I packed a toothbrush and a few protective masks. In a side pocket, I placed a small notebook and a pen. Writing things down can become very important when information is changing quickly. Next to that, I slid in a paper map of the local area. Phones run out of battery, but a map never does. Finally, I added a set of spare keys and a small battery-powered radio. When networks fail, radio is often the most reliable way to receive updates. When everything was packed, I zipped the bag and lifted it onto my shoulder. Outside, the atmosphere had changed. People were moving with purpose. Some were walking quickly, others helping elderly neighbors carry bags. There was tension, but also a quiet sense of cooperation. The nearest shelter was a few blocks away. I followed the route I already knew, checking street signs and occasionally glancing at my paper map. When I reached the shelter entrance, a few dozen people were already there. We slowly moved inside. The shelter was simple but solid. Thick walls, ventilation systems, and emergency lighting. I found a place along one wall and set my backpack beside me. The first hours passed slowly. People shared information, checked their phones, and waited for updates. Every now and then I turned on my small radio to listen for official broadcasts. At one point, a man nearby cut his hand on the edge of a metal crate. It wasn't serious, but it was bleeding. I took out my gloves, cleaned the wound with antiseptic, and wrapped it with a bandage. Within a few minutes, the problem was solved. Later that night, the shelter grew colder. I put on my warm sweater and dry socks. Then I unfolded the thermal space blanket. It reflected body heat surprisingly well, and soon I felt warm again. Time moved slowly underground. Some people talked quietly, others rested. A few of us took turns checking the radio for news. Occasionally I wrote notes in my notebook, times, announcements, and anything that might be useful later. After many hours, the radio finally delivered better news. Authorities reported that the situation was stabilizing. Emergency services were working across the city, and conditions were gradually improving. You could feel the change in the room immediately. The tension softened. People began to breathe easier. Several hours later, another message came through. Residents would soon be allowed to leave the shelters in stages. When the doors finally opened, soft daylight filled the entrance. We walked outside carefully. The city was quieter than usual, but it was still standing. Emergency crews were already working, and people were beginning to return to their homes. I adjusted the straps of my backpack and took a deep breath of fresh air. That small bag had carried everything I needed to stay safe. Help someone else and wait calmly until the situation passed. Preparation doesn't remove uncertainty, but it gives you something even more important: time, clarity, and the ability to keep moving forward. And sometimes that makes all the difference.